Hello guys, Mr. Zuckerberg says his plans are to replace mid-level engineers with AI agents in 2025. But I'm here to prove him wrong. Today I'm going to ask Deepseek to make a simple FlappyBird game for me. And I'm going to show you why AI sucks big time. In the same video, I'm going to explain why AI stocks can be a great investment in 2025. Alright, let's put Deepseek to the ultimate test. I'll be his hands and fingers executing everything it commands while we see if it can truly craft a great FlappyBird game from scratch. This will be a raw, unfiltered experiment. Deepseek will give the instructions and I'll follow them to the letter. No shortcuts, no second guessing. We're about to find out just how capable it is. Will it produce a polished, playable FlappyBird clone, or will it stumble along the way, revealing its limitations? Deepseek has spoken, and our first task is to create the bird, our main character. This isn't just about placing a sprite on the screen. We're going to make it feel alive by adding physics, gravity, and collision mechanism. The second task is to add the script to make it behave as it should. This step is crucial because it lays the foundation for the game's core mechanism. Without proper physics, the bird wouldn't fall, flap, or collide realistically, and the game would just feel so unnatural. With the bird and its components in place, it is time to test if the bird moves naturally. We need to see if the gravity pulls it down realistically and if each flap provides just the right amount of lift. The goal is to make sure the movement feels smooth and responsive, neither too heavy nor too floaty. With our bird flapping naturally, it is time to introduce pipes, the key challenge of FlappyBird. They need to spawn at regular intervals, move smoothly from right to left, and disappear off the screen to keep the game flowing. Hitting a pipe should trigger a game over, while passing through them should increase the score. It would be interesting if Deepseek understands how important it is to destroy those objects to avoid memory leakages. Memory leakages will create a problem over the long run as it results in unresponsive games. I'm trusting Deepseek to handle pipe movements, scoring, and game over logic efficiently without any input from me. If it gets everything right, we might just have a proof that AI can replace mid to senior level engineers, as Mr. Zuckerberg claims. Let's see how well it performs. Well, this is absolute garbage. While Deepseek provides something similar, it is far away from functional FlappyBird game. The implementation is incomplete and lacks game mechanics. The pipes don't move, the scoring system doesn't work, and the game over logic is still missing. At first glance, these are fundamental issues that should have been handled correctly without any human input. If an AI struggles with such basic mechanics, it is clear that replacing engineers is still far away from reality, Mr. Zuckerberg. Now let's take a different approach and try to make this better. While Deepseek attempted to generate a FlappyBird game, it fell short in several areas. Clearly, AI still struggles with understanding complex dependencies between multiple components in a game, which is as simple as FlappyBird. But instead of relying on Deepseek to handle everything, I'm going to take charge of the logic myself. I'm not a professional game developer, but I'll use AI as a tool to assist me rather than blindly following its instructions. My approach will be to dictate the logic, define how different components should interact, and then ask Deepseek to write the actual code based on these clear instructions. In short, I'll be the brains behind the game, and Deepseek will provide the code. This way we can eliminate the errors that we encountered in the first attempt and ensure that mechanics work as expected. I'll start everything from scratch, carefully structuring the dependencies between elements like bird, pipes, scoring, and game over logic. First of all, I want to fix the pipe movement and ensure they scroll smoothly from right to left. They should transition smoothly across the screen and be destroyed once they move out of the view and prevent any unnecessary memory usage. I also designed the pipes with a proper gap to make sure the game is playable, and then asked Deepseek to generate the code. Of course, it wasn't perfect on the first try. There were a lot of back and forth tweaking and debugging. After several iterations, I finally managed to get it working as intended. The pipe movement now looks smooth, and I'm happy with the way they scroll. The transition feels natural and pipes disappear once they are out of the view, just as expected. However, there are still some major issues like collision detection is completely missing. Right now, the bird simply passes through the pipes as if they don't exist. It's behaving like a ghost, which is completely abnormal and breaks the gameplay. In a real FlappyBird game, the pipes should be solid obstacles. If the bird hits them, the game should recognize the collision and trigger a game over sequence. But instead of rushing to fix everything at once, I'm going to tackle one issue at a time. First, I need to add collision detection for the pipes, ensuring that if the bird makes contact, it behaves as if it's actually hitting an object. Once that's in place, we can move on refining the other mechanics like scoring and game over logic. Before we move on to that, let's first add the ground. If the bird falls, it should hit the ground and trigger a game over. Once the ground is in place, I'll also need to add collision detection for it. This way we can ensure that the bird cannot pass through either the pipes or the ground, making the game feel more polished and realistic. To test this, I'll run the game and check if both the pipes and the ground properly blocks the bird's movement. The game's mechanics are finally solid, so now it's time to add the scoreboard. The goal is simple. Every time the bird successfully passes through the gap, the score should go up by 1. Getting the scoreboard to display on the screen was a real challenge. I spent a frustrating amount of time troubleshooting a stubborn bug, only to realize the issue was with the order of layers of the scoreboard text. It was being rendered behind the background instead of in the front. This was a valuable reminder that assumptions often lead to mistake. Sometimes what seems obvious isn't actually true, and that's where things go wrong.
One eternity later.
After finally getting the scoreboard to display correctly, I turned to Deepseek to generate the code for updating the score. The logic was to manipulate the text on the scoreboard, increase it by 1 whenever the bird successfully passes through the gap. To achieve this, I added an invisible collision trigger inside the gap between the pipes. When the bird crosses this trigger, it raises an event that updates the score. I also created a variable to store the current score and increment it by 1 each time the event is triggered. The scoreboard text is then updated dynamically based on this variable value. With this setup in place, the scoring system is now functional and seamlessly integrated into the game. With the scoreboard working properly, it is time to implement a game over logic. When the bird collides with a pipe or the ground, a game over screen should pop up. The screen will also include a restart button. At first I ran into a logical error where this screen was always visible. The initial script from Deepseek didn't account for the dependency between collisions and displaying the game over screen. After explaining the issue, it provided an updated script that dynamically loads the game over screen only when a collision occurs. It also ensures the screen disappears when the restart button is pressed. With everything in place, the game is finally coming together. Looking back, I should have swapped the circle for a bird image. It would have made the game more similar to the actual FlappyBird game. After fixing up a couple of loose ends, here is the final result. This raises an important question. So is AI really a good investment after seeing its limitations? From a programmer's perspective, the answer is yes. Of course, this is not a financial advice. Always do your own research before investing. The reason I believe in AI is because of its impact on productivity. Any programmer spends countless hours researching, browsing through websites and books just to find the right solution. What AI does is get this tailored data instantly. If I had to develop this game without AI, it would have taken me days to gather the necessary knowledge. With the help of Deepseek, I was able to complete this task within a day or two. This kind of productivity boost is invaluable to companies like Meta. AI allows them to accomplish more with fewer resources. This significantly reduces the cost and increases the profitability. So I expect the stocks to go up. And thanks for watching.